Are we ready?
We're good.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for the fourth quarter 2020 presentation of Shardus. Our quarterly presentations are a platform where we showcase our progress and demonstrate new features that we've added to the software in the last quarter. It is a privilege to have you all join us and view these developments. Hope everybody is keeping safe and healthy in these times of the coronavirus. Welcome. Thank you for joining. My name is Shahzad Nathani, and I'm the Head of Business Development at Shardus. I have with me the Shardus team here to demonstrate our milestones and showcase the developments for this quarter and all the new and exciting features that we've added to Shardus. Shardus has been moving at its anticipated speed, and we're getting ready to launch the software in the not-too-distant future. With that, I would like to introduce you to Greg Hemmer, who's part of our marketing and business development team. Greg would be walking you through the demo of Shardis, our payment and messaging system built on Shardus. Greg, over to you.
Thank you, Shahzad. If everyone could please make sure they're on mute so we don't get any echoing, that would be fantastic. Thank you all for joining us today at the Shardus event. Very excited to be speaking with you. For those who are joining for the first time, want to share an application that we have built with Shardus to show that Shardus is capable of supporting an application so that you can comfortably go and build an application on your own with Shardus, or if you'd like, you can use Shardis yourself. I'm going to share my screen now for this demo. So first, I'm going to ask you to go to test.liberdis.com. You can sign in and create an account. You can choose whatever username you like and go through that process. I already have an account myself, so I'm going to go straight to my account page. But if you want to go through with creating your account and log in so you can send coins and messages and play with the application during this presentation, that'd be fantastic. Once you're signed in, as you can see here, there's a lot of different features in the nav bar with Shardis. You can send messages, you can send coins. Here is the home screen where you can see your transaction history and the ability to receive or to send coins. For the purpose of this, I'm going to send some coins to Omar. Feel free to send coins to myself, or down here you can see Omar. I'm going to enter in Omar's username, enter in the amount I want. I'm feeling greedy today, so I'm just going to send Omar 1 Shardis token. That transaction is now submitted to the network, and any moment you should see it populate, and Omar should receive his token once the transaction is processed. There you can see I was able to send 1 token successfully to Omar. That should be displaying on his client now as well. We can also send messages with Shardis. I'm going to send one to Amr here. There you can see I have submitted a transaction to the network for a message to be sent. I think a lot of people, when they think of blockchain today, they still think of cryptocurrency. And this is just an example that decentralized networks don't need to just support financial assets. A transaction could be a message as well. As you can see, Amr's hair is looking fantastic today, so wanted them to congratulate him on that. And if you go back to my transaction history here, you're able to see that that message was a processed transaction. So again, if you want to go ahead on your own client and try to sign up for an account at test.liberdis.com, create your account and send some tokens or messages to myself or Omar or Amr, we'd love to interact with you on the application. So that's all for Shardis. As you know, we're primarily focused on Shardus and building out the software. Again, this was here as an example that the software can be used to launch an application capable of supporting, or used to launch a network capable of supporting an application like Shardis. We're working on a few other applications as well. And if you're a developer, we hope you consider learning about the Shardus software and using it to launch a network that supports your own decentralized application. That's all for now. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Greg. Briefly, let me start by giving you an overview of the Shardus project. Can we have the slide on our screen, please? So the questions typically we'll be answering today is, what is Shardus? Why Shardus? And who benefits by using Shardus? What is Shardus? Shardus is a software that will help individuals, organizations, and enterprise build a decentralized network that is highly scalable, efficient, and using very limited resources. It's not just a smart contract like Ethereum and Polkadot, amongst others, but the actual underlying network software that can launch projects that need decentralization, speed, efficiency, and ease of development. You could compare this with something like a Hyperledger by IBM, but faster, easier to build, and much more cost-effective in terms of price and resource utilization. While Hyperledger is mainly focused on enterprises that need permission networks, Shardus could also be used for large, permissionless public networks. Shardus can be used to build very large-scale decentralized networks, like a decentralized YouTube, a decentralized Reddit, large-scale payment systems that need high transaction processing, and of course, security, amongst others. What makes up Shardus? Going on to the next slide. Shardus is a group of dedicated individuals who believe that we have a product that can really make a difference to the developing blockchain segment. The project was launched in 2018 by Umar Sayed, our chief architect and founder, having worked with NASA, Raytheon, Yahoo, and Zynga, decided to start his own venture to tackle the gaps in the blockchain space. We have over 10 plus contributors that help us in the development of this project. And the contributors earn the Shardus tokens. The Shardus token is a ERC20 token on the Ethereum network, not to be confused with the network, but we use the Ethereum network to pay on the token itself. It is transferable and exchangeable on several exchanges. Once the software is launched, the tokens will convert into being the requirement for licensing the software and thereby hold its value. Information on the token can be found on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. So why build Shardus? I mean, this is a question, a lot of people ask us. The market space is crowded. There are several projects out there, and every day there are new products being launched. The first reason we decided to build Shardus was none of the current software in the market space offer the kind of scalability that Shardus intends to offer. So if you go back historically to Bitcoin, the typical number of transactions that the network offered was typically about 5 transactions per second. Ethereum changed that and upped it to about 30 transactions per second. Recently, they announced the version 2.0, and as part of the phase 0, have increased it to about 64 transactions per second, with the promise of more to come in this year and beyond. The goal of Shardus is linear scaling, which means that with the addition of more nodes to the network, instead of the speed decreasing, it increases due to the sharding technology that Shardus is built on. So this will be a big game changer in the blockchain world and make Shardus different from most everyone in the market space. Next slide talks about decentralization, which is one of the key features of blockchain. The Gen 1 of blockchain was completely decentralized. The second generation got into the hands of few and started losing the decentralized nature of the network, primarily due to the cost of resources and the revenue being earned by the nodes. Shardus's goal is to provide the software that can run on low resources, have a large number of independent, anonymous nodes, and provide the miners lower margins so that we have many individual node operators larger than large centralized pools. For any network software, security is an extremely key issue. We have worked around the energy requirement issue for using proof of stake as a consensus mechanism rather than proof of work. Another option being that the energy costs are being reduced due to the network being inexpensive. Typically today, you have the Ethereum network, which is extremely expensive by the gas fees they charge. The goal is to provide an extremely secure environment with minimum energy requirements. Also, the nodes can be semi-permissionless, getting the vetting being done by an external entity. We also have the nodes rotating so that the older nodes retire and the newer ones come in, thereby giving it the true essence of the decentralized nature of the software. Shardus also provides interoperability between networks, a feature that is today not available in most of the blockchains. Since the networks will need to talk to each other, this becomes a key feature in building Shardus, and we see that being an extremely important feature in the success of the software. Going on to the next slide, we talk about launching your own case on Shardus. We've made it extremely easy for anybody who wants to spin off a network and build your own APIs and getting started with minimal cost. So we have lowered the barrier of entry in terms of the cost of the software itself, the cost of the resources required, and the cost of development. Since the software is developed itself in JavaScript, building APIs in JavaScript is extremely easy with the amount of developers available in this market space. Who needs Shardus? Any organization that needs a network software to build decentralized services. Internally, we are building several use cases. Liberdis was one of them, which Greg just demonstrated, which is a messaging and a payment network. And other than this, we are building several internal projects. Some of them mentioned here. One is called Getcoin, which is a global universal basic income project. And the second is a decentralized identity and reputation network called Global. Other than this, we have started seeing a lot of interest in the market space, typically from the healthcare, banking, supply chain management, and other enterprises who want to use the software for their own development. Once we formally start marketing the software and the product is ready, we expect this interest to grow exponentially and see a lot more use cases using Shardus as a platform to develop their own use case. So any industry that needs decentralization, a high transaction per second requirement, and move away from the current centralized nature of web services will find an answer in Shardus. Also, organizations that see issues on the Ethereum network due to cost, transaction speeds, and interoperability will look at Shardus as an option. We see social networks, games, healthcare, identity networks becoming a part of our early adopters to the software. Since the software is scalable, large enterprises can use it for the internal permission networks as well as permissionless global networks. Shardus will ensure data security, immutability, redundancy, and BCP compliance to ensure the network provides continuity. With that, I would like to invite Umar Saeed, the man behind this idea and the project, to talk about our roadmap and our progress in the last quarter. Umar, over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Uh-oh, I'm gonna figure out how. All right, did that stop the echo? Can you guys still hear me? All right, great. Okay. So the technical. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the progress that we've done this quarter and what we're planning to do next quarter. So on the technical side, our main focus this quarter has been to enhance the capabilities of our archive server. So for those that have followed the project in the past, you probably know that the Shardus network is divided into a set of nodes which do consensus, and then a different set of nodes which archive the data. So that allows you to have consensus nodes that are, don't really need as much resources in order to participate in the network, while a lot of the burden of holding, massive amounts of data is passed on to the archive servers. So this quarter we focused on creating a network of archive servers and allowing those servers to be able to go in and out of the network and still maintain the data. And the other main focus on this quarter was enhancing our global server. And we made several improvements on that in terms of, increasing the stability of, the nodes. And we've been running our Liberdis network for, months now, which is the test network. And it's gotten to the point where, it's staying up, other than when like the disk fills up or something like that due to logs. And so we've gotten pretty good stability on that. And the other thing that we did this quarter, we created a token bridge from the Ethereum network to the Binance Smart Chain for the Shardus token. So basically, if you're following what's happening on the Ethereum network, the gas costs are getting like outrageously expensive. And, we wanted to create this bridge so that people could transfer the Shardus token on the Binance Smart Chain instead of having to just do it on the Ethereum network. Okay, so on the biz dev side, we're continuing to develop our ambassador program. We haven't really launched it yet. There's still some more details we're working out on that. We've also started the patent development. There's many patents that we have that need to be developed, and so we've started working on those. And we've had several meetings with potential clients who are interested in Shardus, but a lot of times what we find is that these are small startups and they're not really ready to go forward right away. But I think over time we'll start getting more traction with some bigger startups. And on our technical roadmap for next quarter, we're going to continue to make improvements to our global server. Our key focus is going to be, increasing the scalability now. I think we're pretty good with keeping the servers up and running, and now we're going to focus more on the scalability. And we've also done quite a bit of that this quarter. But next quarter, we'll be focusing on trying to get even greater throughput through the nodes and increasing the rate at which they sync and so forth. And another area is we want to make more improvements to Liberdis in terms of the UI, as well as add some more features and improve the incentivization model for Liberdis. We've also started a development of a Conical Wallet. So basically, this is a wallet that would be like a multi-coin wallet for many different assets. And there are, several multi-coin wallets out there, but none of them are open source completely. So, I use a multi-coin wallet, but I don't have access to look at its source code. So we feel that, it's really important for a crypto wallet to be completely open source. And so that's what we're trying to do with Coinica. And also it'll provide a way for applications developed on Shardus to integrate easily into that wallet. We're also developing a network with Shardus called PeerSwap, which basically, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it'll basically allow peer-to-peer swapping of different coins and tokens. On the biz dev roadmap. So we'll try to get our ambassador program launched this quarter and continue working on the patent development. And there's some conference presentations that we have lined up. Okay, so with that, I think we're right on schedule to do our demo. And what we're going to demo is mostly like the linear scaling. And we did this demo in 2019 as well, towards the end of 2019. But at that time, we demoed it on, one super node, a single node running lots of Shardus nodes. This time we're going to do it on AWS, and also we're going to have the demo with much more nodes than we did previously. So with that, I'll turn it over to Amir, and he can show you the demo. Your volume.
Is my voice coming through?
Yep.
All right, sweet. All right, so I'm going to be walking you guys through the demo of linear scaling on an AWS network today. We have two networks up right now. One is a 20 node network and one is a 200 node network. And I'm going to be showing the limits of the 20 node network first, and then move to the 200 node network and show you guys how many transactions a 200 node network can process as compared to 20. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen. And that should be coming through. Can you guys see it okay? All right, sweet. So over here, I have a small setup going for what we're going to be demoing today. First, it'll be the limits of a 20 node network, and then we're going to move to the limits of a 200 node network. And for the 20 node network, I'll start with 100 TPS, and we'll see how many rejected transactions come out of that. Then I'll move up to 150 TPS, and we'll see how many get rejected. And then we'll move to a 200 node network, and I'll show you guys 600 TPS on that network. You can count how many are rejected. Then we can go to 1200 TPS and see how many get rejected. So I think the rejected amount is a good indicator of when we start hitting the network's capabilities or limits of capability. So, all right, here's the 20 node network that I have pre-started on AWS. These are all running on T3 micro instances, as you can see here. And
how many data centers?
Yeah, it's T3 micro instances, all in different data centers. So like AWS lets you have about 20 different regions, and both of the networks are started spread out across all of the regions available by AWS. So let me go ahead and start the 100 transactions per second spam of the 20 node network. So let me just input a command here. And as you can see, this command is set to spam create transactions for a duration of 60 seconds at a rate of 100 transactions per second. And if I go ahead and start this.
How many accounts will it create?
Oh, wait 1 moment. That should be with 1,000 accounts. There we go. And then if I go ahead and start this, we'll start seeing the transactions pop up. So over here's a counter for the max TPS that the network's encountered so far. And then the load, the average of the load across the network. Rejected transactions show up here. 1 or 2 might show up just because of the maintenance transactions done by Liberdis, or like a node trying to ask for its reward a little bit early. But when it starts hitting its like actual like limit, you'll see the load go up and the rejected will start becoming a lot more than just 1. So this is going to go on for about a minute. And towards the end of it, over here, you can see it's like expecting to go through 6,000 transactions. The total process should be close to that number.
Yeah, and the reason why it won't be exactly that number is because the transactions are being sent to multiple nodes, and then if you counted like every transaction that was sent by every node, you'd end up like way over counting. So we have a different mechanism for how we count those transactions that are reported by the nodes, so that we get close to like each transaction being counted just once.
Right. So like 6,000 transactions went through. We seen about 5,450 because of the averaging across the network, the transactions seen by the nodes. It's not exact. And over here, we have like an image of the sharding that takes place across the network. All right, so this seems to have gone through 100 transactions on a 20 node network with, one rejected. So let's just write that down.
Yeah, actually that one rejected may have already been there before you started.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's like 0 rejected.
After the spamming, right? Okay, now let's move up to 150 transactions per second on a 200 node network and see where that gets us.
You mean the 20 node network?
Oh, sorry, yeah, on a 20 node network. So let me go ahead and up the transaction rate.
So basically the number of accounts you create is like 10 times the transaction rate.
Yep. And then let me go ahead and reset these numbers. All right, everything looks good. Go ahead and start this spam test at 150 transactions per second now. So as you can see, the load is a little bit higher. The average transactions per second and max TPS seen by the network is close to 150, which is what we want it to be. The rejected are starting to go up now because the load is definitely a little bit higher.
Yeah, and the reason why we have the nodes reject the transaction is because rather than accepting all the transactions and not being able to process them, the network lets the client know right away if the network is kind of overloaded. So that way the client's transaction isn't just like taken into the network and not processed. And that gives the client, the ability to resubmit that transaction a little bit later.
Right.
All right, so looks like we had quite a few rejected transactions now.
Mm-hmm. Seems to have hit the limit of this network, of a 20 node network. And the max TPS it saw, because the variability is like, I think close to like 182. But that's not like, we were spamming it at 150. Okay, so let me write that down. We got about 444 rejected transactions. All right, so now let's move over to the 200 node network, which I have preset from before. And this is also running on different regions of AWS all throughout the world. There are also T3 micro instances. And the first thing we're going to do is spam this guy at 600 transactions per second and see what happens.
Actually, you could go to 1,000, I think, with that.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'll bump it up to 1,000 transactions per second?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. And for this spam test, because each one of like the spammer nodes, like the servers that we use to send the spam, it has a limit on how much like transactions per second it can do. We're going to start up multiple servers to spam the network. So let me get the command ready on this one. we want to do 1,000 by 4, that's like 250 transactions per second each. And let me change the endpoint that it's hitting, so it's hitting the right network. All right. Let's run this command from 4 different servers. Okay, here goes nothing.
Do you have it set up in all 4 servers?
Yeah. Go ahead and start it.
Go for it.
All right, so the spamming has started, and you'll see the rate pick up here in just a second. There we go. All right, so the network is spamming at about 1,000 TPS. We'll see the load over here. It's not too high. These 2 rejected transactions are probably there from before.
Yeah, the max TPS will kind of show us where we're at. So we're getting close to 1,000
transactions per second. Yep. One of the challenges that we had to overcome this quarter was the performance of the actual monitor client itself. Being able to show this many nodes and transactions come through when like each node is pinging its status to the monitor client is kind of a challenge when it comes to what do you call performance. So one of the things we had to optimize was the monitor that we're viewing right now. I think we did a pretty good job. All right, so this should go on for a couple more seconds. And as you can see, the load didn't go above like 0.3. I think the max that I saw was like 0.242.
Yeah.
So this is a good example of like scalability in action, where having more nodes that each node is the same, I guess, amount of horsepower as the smaller network. They just, because there's more of them and they're using sharding to distribute the work, they're able to handle way more transactions per second.
Yeah, and the max TPS, even though it didn't get to 1,000, basically each node is reporting like, you know, how many transactions per second it happened to see. So it's possible that, you know, no one of them ever saw more than 1,000. So
Right. And also because it was spread out across 4 different nodes doing the actual spamming. So over here you can see the shard report, which is partitions covered by the nodes, and as you can see, like because of that diagonal line, like each node is only holding a partial piece of the data of the network. No node is like going all the way across. So this is exactly what we want it to be. All right, so 1,000 transactions per second, and we got no rejected after we started the spamming. So let me go ahead and put that down.
So Amit, just to give an idea to our people who have joined us today, Visa typically does about 1,700 transactions on an average on a yearly basis. So that gives you an indication of, you know, where we stand in the process.
Right. And with I think 200 nodes here, being able to handle 1,000 transactions per second, that's awesome. Like if you think about like the scaling per node, I think that comes out to about like 5 transactions per second per node added, going from 200 nodes at 100 TPS to 20 nodes at 100 TPS to 2,000 nodes at 1,000 TPS. All right, so let's hit the limits of a 200 node network and spam it at 120 or 1,200 transactions per second. So let me get the command going for that. So each node would do 300, and we're going to spread that out across 4 spammers. So each spammer is going to be doing 300 transactions per second for a total of 1,200 transactions per second in the whole thing. All right. I think this command looks right, and it's spread out across the 4 spamming nodes. And let me go ahead and reset this report. Let's reset the numbers here. And even though it looks like it went down, it's just an artifact of the client. If I refresh the pages, will all come back up. It'll show everyone who's actually in the network. All right, looks like we're good. Let me go ahead and start the 1,200 transactions per second test.
And this time we should start seeing some transactions getting rejected now, right?
Right. The load is, you'll see if you can watch the load here, it'll go up definitely more than 0.24. As you can see, it says 0.34.
Yeah, that'll probably get into like 0.5 kind of levels. And that's when the nodes are set to start rejecting transactions after the load gets to like 0.5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could push that up to like even like 0.7 or 8, but then you're kind of risking that the node itself might crash, as opposed to the node saying, hey, I'm going to reject the transaction rather than getting myself overloaded.
Right. Man, this is holding up really well for...
Yeah, you are getting some rejected transactions.
Yeah, right. I'm getting a couple rejected, and the load is at 0.433.
Yeah, and that's the average load. So some of the nodes would have seen like 0.5 level of a load, and then
right. Others are not as loaded.
Yeah.
And I think the max transactions per second that we saw at an instant was about 1,263.
Yeah, wow.
And yeah, the network is alive and well, it seems.
But you wouldn't want to push into this kind of a range with this network.
Right.
So you'd want to have the network have more nodes.
Right. But this is like at the absolute edge of the capabilities of a 200 node network.
Right.
So at 1,200 TPS, we got about 61 rejected transactions. All right, so if we look at this chart here, we went from a 20 node network comfortably doing 100 transactions per second to starting to reject some around 150, and then scale that up to a 200 node network comfortably able to do about 1,000 transactions per second, and right on the edge of being able to do about 1,200 transactions per second. And this is all running on AWS T3 micro instances, which cost, I think, like 100 thousandths of a cent per hour to run. They have like 2 cores, 1 gig of RAM, not very beefy nodes at all. And just by increasing the total number of nodes in the network, because of their sharding, we're able to increase the transactions per second by like almost more than a factor of 10. So I think this is a good demonstration of linear scaling happening on a network that is close to, it's my hope that's close to what a real network conditions would be like. And yeah, I think that's the end of our demo. All right, guys, turn it back to you. Let me stop sharing my screen here.
Fantastic. That was exciting stuff. Amr, great job. And, really excited about the linear scaling and seeing what we can get up to in a few months down the road, a few years down the road. Now's the time for Q&A. I know you guys have, thank you so much for all the questions you've asked throughout this presentation. If you have any more now, please ask them. I'm going to dive through some of the questions we received throughout the presentation. First one, I guess, Omar, I'm sorry, I'm just looking through them. There's a bunch. I guess first one I'll ask is, Omar, do we plan to add the project into GitHub so anyone can see the code and verify it for trust?
Yeah, definitely, and we'll do that before we launch Libertas and launch release Shardus. And the reason why we're holding off on that is because there's a lot of very unique code that we have, which is patentable, and we're gonna submit like patents so that we can defend the IP that we have. Because the way the patent system works is that you could actually create something, but if somebody else patented it before you, then they still get the rights. So you do have to be very careful about that. And there's a lot of blockchain patents that are happening out there right now. So we just want to make sure we have ourselves covered before we release that. But yeah, we do believe in making this open source, and definitely people should be able to see that code, change that code, and use it the way they want to use it. But when we do release it, it'll be a non-commercial release, because to actually use it for your project or in your enterprise, you do need to acquire Shardus tokens and use those tokens by sending them to a function on our smart contract, which burns those tokens and issues a license token. So, but yeah, it will definitely be open source. And if you're interested right now to, start working with us and looking at the code, we can allow that with the NDA. So, and we've done that with several projects.
Awesome. So I think that's a good segue for this question. Andrew, if you want to unmute yourself, I'll ask this one to you. Will Shardus provide a language soon for creating dApps, just like the Solidity of Ethereum, or is Node.js or JavaScript enough?
Oh, so since Shardus is an underlying software for building any sort of dApp, you could actually build a dApp on top of it that is a smart contract language that hosts like many types of applications. So for users right now that want to just build their own individual application, then yeah, they can use JavaScript. And actually, probably like we do, a lot of people want to use TypeScript just because the development experience is really nice with that. But yeah, so there any number of smart contract platforms could be built on top of this and benefit from the scaling. In addition to that, it's the algorithms that are the important thing to our software. So we might explore different like core languages in the future as well.
Awesome, good answer. Kyle, I'll ask you this one. One viewer said, I think security is very important. Do you think the Shardus system is secure enough from hackers? Does your project have a program that rewards individual vulnerability detection of the system?
I don't think we have anything about individual vulnerability yet, but it definitely is secure, and it's kind of up to the app developer to make it secure. So you really you have a lot of validation functions that you can use for your transactions to make them secure and type safe and everything. Yeah, I would say it's very secure.
Awesome. Omar, any thoughts or comments there?
Yeah, so the thing that you have to remember is Shardus is just providing a framework that makes it easy and lowers the barrier of creating your own network and launching that. So at the application level, you still have to think a lot about the security. With our consensus protocol and so forth, we've actually taken care of the security part there, but the application could also it has to be developed so that you're conscious of the security of the network there as well. So
awesome. And Amr, Are the developers of Shardus AWS certified?
Yeah, so as you saw, the demo was running on AWS. I'm not certified technically for it, but I think after months and months of development of getting this thing to be able to work right, I could probably get certified pretty quickly. But one of our other developers, Jayraj, I believe has actual certification credentials for AWS. So we're, if not officially certified, we're extremely familiar with it.
Awesome. Omar, speaking of developers, are we still looking for additional developers? How can they reach us?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for, talented people that want to contribute to the project in any way. And it's not just developers either. Like maybe if you want to write content or, become an ambassador once we release the ambassador program and so forth. So there's a form on the Shardus website for developers to submit their information and resume and so forth. And if you did that and you didn't, hear from us, sometimes, we're busy with the development that we don't always check that. Always feel free to send an email to info@shardus.com or directly to me at omar@shardus.com. So.
Awesome. Finding some other questions here. Another good one for you, Omar, is what motivated our team to build Shardus?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, if you watch the very first quarterly presentation, I really get into the depths of why I was motivated to, build Shardus. It could take like half an hour, but just to give you a quick, short answer, I really feel that the world needs a universal basic income type cryptocurrency, and to have a currency like that billions of people can use on a daily basis, and have millions and millions of transactions per second. When I was looking at what do we have in terms of blockchain technology to do that, and this is back in like 2011. Um, uh, it wasn't there, and I figured maybe things will get better, and waited and waited and waited, and in 2016 I saw that things probably are not going to get better, and so I left my consulting work that I was doing at a game company and focused on Shardus. Basically locked myself up for about a year and a half, thinking through the technical details of what we need to build. And then in early 2018, we started putting a team together, and we've been working diligently for 3 years now, building the software. So, and we're going to keep going until we get the universal basic income coin created and launched.
That's right. One thing that's very unique about the team is, the dedication that you all and we all have to the project. Another question that was asked is 2020 is considered as the year of decentralized finance. Some people are saying non-fungible tokens is becoming a new trend in 2021. And how will Shardus compete with the established NFT projects in the market? So I guess, we need some explanation on, why Shardus is not an NFT like application, but is Shardus capable of supporting like non-fungible tokens?
Who do you want to address that to?
I'll leave that one for you, Omar.
Okay. Yeah. So, NFT, non-fungible tokens, it basically means putting things like, say, real estate property or, assets, anything that is unique. Putting that on the blockchain, that's non-fungible token. Now, we're not really trying to create that final end user application for NFTs, but somebody could use Shardus to create that end user application. And we actually had a talk with one of the clients that we met recently that was interested in Shardus, called Panini. So they're doing those trading cards, which are basically like NFTs, and putting them on the blockchain. And so one of the issues that they're starting to run into is that their number of transactions is not scaling, right? And keeping up with the user demand. And so, yeah, I mean, these kind of projects will eventually need, platforms and infrastructure that can handle that TPS. And, everybody currently is piling up on Ethereum. It's kind of like when you have one shared computer, and everybody puts all their websites on that one computer. If one of the website gets really popular, it's going to slow everybody else down. And so nowadays, the cost of getting your own dedicated server is so low, you can get one for $5 a month. If you have any kind of a website that's going to need any, high amount of performance, you would never put it on a shared computer. That's like late 1990s stuff. Nowadays, you'd run it on your own dedicated server. So I see the same kind of trend happening in the blockchain space. Currently, the barrier to creating and launching your own decentralized network is really high. You don't want to do it because, one of the reasons why a lot of people don't do it is security. Because if they run a small network with maybe like 20 or 50 nodes, it's very vulnerable to getting, a 51% attack and things like that. But the way we're creating Shardus is you can run a small network and be immune to those kind of attacks. So it brings the cost of entry down, and it'll allow these kind of applications to be created on Shardus. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Omar. Shahzad, this is a good question for you.
Amir, you're muted.
Is on.
Amir, your mic is off.
Okay. It looks like pretty much everyone that was watching the stream is still here. So thank you for staying through that interruption there. The question for Shahzad was, what kind of plans do we have for expanding global exposure to users and new projects you want to build with Shardus?
Greg, we are talking to a lot of people across in the industry. We also have a solid marketing plan in place. We're just waiting for the final phase of the project development to come to a closure so we can, go with a big bang and announce Shardus to most of the enterprises, individuals, and organizations who are looking at such a product to launch their own use cases and their own service networks. So it's all a matter of time. We just, the development team has been working extremely hard, and we are almost there. So it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and if I could add something to that, Greg.
Yep.
I know that a lot of people nowadays are like so used to like these crypto related projects having the, this community and making these promises way before anything is even created. And we don't want to go down that path. If you think about like any kind of a software company, they don't sit there focusing on their community first and so forth. And the reason why this happens in the crypto space is because of that token that all these projects have that they, basically are selling to the people. And and they need those people to get excited about the project, so that the token value, will help them fund the project and so forth. And the way we've structured our project, we don't really need that. We don't need anybody to buy the token in order for us to keep the project funded and so forth. And so that way we're able to focus on the development and not have to, focus on like marketing before the product is even made. But once the product is made, that's when we'll turn our focus to the marketing.
Awesome. Great responses. And I'm going to answer this final question. I know we have 3 minutes left, so I'll use this to wrap up. The final question was, what do you think is the biggest problem Shardus will solve that no other project is solving now? And why is the problem important to solve? And so, I think some context to use that is good to help answer this question is, if you look at what happened with GameStop this week and, all of the financial services companies in that market, a lot of these centralized organizations were acting in, what they felt was their best interest. But a centralized enterprise's best interest is not always in the best interest of society, of, retail people like you and I who wanted to invest in the GameStop stock when we weren't able to because we were denied of being able to trade that stock. And so that has led to a lot of interest in decentralization. You're hearing a lot of buzz online right now about Bitcoin and, even Dogecoin pumped this week, and all of these tokens values are skyrocketing because the interest in decentralization, where you don't have to rely on a central intermediary to be able to do what you would like to do. And so the challenge with blockchain currently in decentralization is, if whether you want to build a global basic, a universal basic income network like Shardus or Omar has a vision for, where universal basic income is distributed to people globally, or you want to build a decentralized application that's used by individuals around the world, you need scalability for these things to happen. And currently on the market, there is no decentralized network that is scalable enough while still being truly decentralized to be able to enable that vision of a global decentralized application used by people around the world with thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of transactions per second. There's no decentralized network capable of supporting that. And so Shardus's core focus is working on state sharding and linear scalability to enable developers to build an application that they can easily spin up a decentralized network for that is truly scalable enough to be able to handle that transaction throughput. And, that problem is important enough to solve because, this is the end goal of blockchain, is one day to be able to enable decentralized applications to exist that are used globally and, having thousands of transactions every second and replacing the centralized versions of those applications today. So, that is the problem Shardus is solving, and that is why the problem is important enough to solve. And I know our time is up here. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We come back quarter after quarter, like Omar said, for 3 years now, presenting the progress we've made at the end of each quarter. We're excited to see you back for our Q1 update around the April timeframe. If you have any questions or you're interested in joining the Shardus project, please reach out to info@shardus.com. I will post that in the chat. You can also reach out to Omar at shardus.com or myself, Greg at shardus.com. Really excited about the community growth, and thank you all again for being here today. Hope you have a great weekend. Bye-bye.